Chapter 19, costs, scale of production and break-even analysis. So we're starting with business cost. So when we talk about business cost, we're talking about the amount businesses have to pay for their activities. That is business cost. So they say all businesses activities involve costs of some sort. This cost cannot be ignored. For example, the manager of a business is planning to open a new factory making sports shoes. Why does the manager need to think about costs? Some of these are explained below. Yeah, so the cost of operating the factory can be compared with the revenue from the sales of the sports shoes to calculate whether or not the business will make a profit or loss. This calculation is one of the most important made in any business. So as soon as you're starting up a business, as soon as you think about having a business,
Yes.
it involves different activities. So why do you have to think about these activities as a cost? You have to think of them as a cost because at the end of it all, that is where you will derive your profit from. So if there's no cost, there won't be profits. So because you are able to, calculate your cost, then you'll be able to decide the price you want to sell to know if you're going to be able to make profit or not.
Yes.
Do you get the point?
Yeah.
So to help the manager decide what price should be charged for a pair of sports shoes. So if you are like this manager is deciding to open a sports shop or a sport factory or a shoe factory, it needs to think about the cost of having that factory so that it can know the price to charge. Without knowing the cost of your production, you wouldn't know the price of your product.
Yes.
That's the reason why we need to talk about cost. Is that what?
The cost of two different applications.
At the end of it, it's about price. So
Okay.
So cost will let you to know the price. That's the point there.
Okay.
So we have two types of cost here. We have fixed cost and variable cost. Why do we call it fixed? We call it fixed because this type of cost, you incur it irrespective of your activity. You have an activity, you are involved in an activity, you are not involved in an activity, you incur that cost. So it's a cost that does not change as level of output changes.
Yes.
So this is a fixed cost. Then we have the variable cost. The variable cost changes as the output changes. So if you are increasing your output, your variable cost will also increase.
Yes.
So business cost, the need to calculate profit or loss. Business cost will allow you to calculate profit or loss. It allows you to know what amount of fixed cost you need. It helps managers to make decisions. And that's all about that. Now we go to total cost and average cost. Why do we call it total cost? We call it total cost because it is the addition of the fixed and the sum of the fixed and variable cost. That's our total cost. Then we have the average cost per unit. The average cost is the total cost divided by the number of units or number of outputs. We've talked about that before.
Yes. Okay.
So we just go down and we have different calculations here, which is let me see what we need to know more about here. I think that's all about cost anyway.
Using cost data.
Yeah, okay, let me talk about the using cost data.
Yes.
And why is it important? So setting price. You used your cost because you are able to put your cost together.
Yes.
You're able to use it to set the price. So setting the price means, what price are we going to be able to charge? Are we thinking about making profit or just to break even? So the cost you charge, the cost of your production will decide the price you have to set on that product. That's what they're saying here. So they said if the business wants to make profit of 1, it will charge a price of 4. So basically what we're talking about is you use cost to decide the price you are going to set for your products. That's the point there.
Yes. Deciding
whether to stop production or to continue. So if you are unable to sell, if the cost you are incurring is more than you are unable to make profit regarding the cost, especially when it is variable cost. If you are unable to cover your variable cost as a firm, then you might as well stop the product. So your variable cost, because it's the cost of producing a unit of output, your variable cost is the cost of production, the variable ones. So if you cannot meet up that cost, if you cannot cover for that cost, then there's no point continuing the business. Because if you cannot cover up for your variable cost, you can never cover up for your fixed cost. Do you get the point here? So if firms are unable to cover up for variable costs, then they have to decide if to continue the business or not to continue the business. Deciding on the best ones here. Location. So here, if you're talking about location, basically you're talking about fixed cost. So you have to think about the cost of the area you are setting up at. So if it is ideal for you to set up on it or not, if setting up in a location is more higher and you cannot meet up with it, then it's no point going there. You need to know the cost of your location. If it is what is bearable, it is advisable to take it. But if it is not, then you don't take it on. So what they are talking about is deciding on different activities that the business is involved in. The price, the raw materials you have to use, the location you have to set. And when you talk about location, it's not just where you are setting out. It could also mean the rent you pay. It could also mean the cost of transportation.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
What else they talk about there? And that's all about cost.
Yes.
Okay. So go to economies of scale. We go to economies of scale and diseconomies of scale. We're talking about economies of scale. We're talking about a cost reduction as a result of expansion. That's what economies of scale is. So we have different types of economies of scale. Here they said we have 5 economies of scale. We start with purchasing economies of scale. Why do we call it purchasing economies of scale? It says when businesses buy large numbers of components, for example, materials or spare parts, they are able to gain discount for buying in bulk. So this reduces the unit cost of each item bought and gives the firm an advantage over small businesses which buy in small quantities. So there's purchasing economies of scale, which you enjoy because you're buying in bulk. So buying in bulk means you have a discounted price. You'll be paying lesser amount than what you are supposed to pay. And this is an advantage for you because you are able to do this because you are a big business. So you have an advantage over small businesses who cannot buy in bulk. So that allows you to even sell at a cheaper price and to make more revenue and profits.
Yes.
The second one is marketing economies of scale. There are several advantages for a large business when marketing its products. It might be able to afford to purchase its own vehicles to distribute goods rather than depending on other firms. Transport costs will be reduced by using larger vehicles. Advertising rates in papers and on television do not go up in the same proportion as the size of an advertisement ordered by the business. The business will not need twice as many sales staff to sell 10 product lines as a smaller firm needs to sell 5. So for marketing economies of scale, what it means is that because you are a big firm, you have the advantage to negotiate for a smaller amount of money for your adverts. And even if you want to spend more, you have the opportunity to spend more because you're a big business. Do you get it?
Yes.
So this advantage you have, smaller businesses cannot have them. Do you understand? So it gives you an edge over smaller business. That's marketing economies of scale. So you have opportunities to spend less on advertisement because you are doing much advertisement. So advertisement firms will not charge you as much as they will charge smaller firms.
They're like loyal customer.
Yes, they want you to continue purchasing with them or being part of their service. I'll quickly recap before we go on to financial economies. Economies of scale comes as a result of we being able to increase our output. We are able to become bigger, then our average cost of production reduces. So this might be in different folds. It's not just like you becoming bigger. It might be because you are buying large quantities, and that takes us to purchasing economies of scale. Because you're buying in large quantities, you're buying in bulk, you have a discount. Then you'll be paying less than what you are supposed to pay. And this becomes an advantage for you over small businesses.
Yes.
Purchasing economies of scale. Then for marketing economies of scale, it means you have an advantage to advertise at a reduced cost because you do more. They need advertising firms need you more. Yeah. So they will charge you less, unlike smaller firms that do not have that financial capability to do more advertisement. So you have the financial capability to do more advertisement. As a result of that, you might be doing it at a lower price. Yes. Then we go to financial economies. For financial economies of scale, it said larger businesses are often able to raise capital more cheaply than smaller ones. Bank managers often consider that lending to a large organization is less risky than lending to small ones. A lower rate of interest is therefore often charged. So for financial economies of scale, because you are a big firm, you are successful. Banks want to transact with you. Banks want to entice you with low interest rates so that you can borrow from them. They know you're going to pay back. They consider you as a low risk. Unlike small businesses, banks do not want to give money to small businesses. They don't want to loan small businesses because they are considered as high risk. So because you are considered as a low risk, you get a loan even at a cheaper rate. Because the banks want to transact with you. They want to deal with you. They know their money is safe with you. They know you are credit worthy. So that is financial economies of scale. So you have access to capital. You have access to money at any point in time based on the fact that you are big. That is financial economies of scale. I think it's clear. Then the third one, managerial economies. Small businesses cannot usually afford to pay for specialist managers, for example, marketing managers and qualified accountants. This tends to reduce their efficiency. Larger companies can afford specialists, and this increases their efficiency and helps to reduce their average cost. As a big firm, you're attractive to specialist managers. So as a result of that, you increase your efficiency. But smaller firms do not have they are not even attractive. Nobody wants to work, no manager wants to work with a small firm. So they love to work with bigger firms. As a result of that, bigger firms are able to pay them. They are able to afford them. And being able to afford specialist managers increases your efficiency. And if it increases your efficiency, it allows you to reduce your average cost of production. Smaller firms do not have that opportunity. Do you understand managerial economies of scale here? Larger firms have opportunities to employ specialist managers. As a result of that, it increases or improves their efficiency, which smaller firms cannot be able to. I think it's clear. Then we have technical economies. For technical economies of scale, here we're talking about larger firms being able to use machinery that increases their efficiency and reduces the average cost, while the smaller firms might not be able to do that. That is technical. I think technical is clear. Then we go to these economies of scale. The economies of scale. So when you become so large that you start becoming inefficient, that is the economies of scale. So the business becomes so large that its average cost of production starts increasing. You know, when you are large, when you become large, when you are expanded, what is expected is a reduction in the average cost of production. But if the reverse is the case, then that is the economies of scale. Do you understand? So let's go down. This economies of scale. So is it possible for a business to become so large that it becomes less and less efficient? Then if this happens, that is the economies of scale. So what are the reasons why we have the economies of scale? The first one, poor communication. The larger the organization, the more difficult it becomes to send and receive accurate messages. If there is a slow or inaccurate communication, then serious mistakes can occur, which leads to lower efficiency and higher average cost. Poor communication. So for communication, if communication becomes inefficient, like if there's poor communication among workers as a result of expansion, then that is the economies of scale. Because if communication is poor, if there's any barrier that makes communication not to be effective, the efficiency will not be there because you won't be getting the right information to carry out the right job or the right task. So you are lacking. Information is what you use in carrying out task. But if information is missing, if communication is ineffective, then you might not be able to do the job at the right time or at the right way, in the right way. So that is inefficiency. These economies of scale. Lack of commitment from employees. Large businesses can employ thousands of workers. It is possible that one worker will never see the top manager of the business. Workers may feel that they are unimportant and not valued by the management. So here, lack of commitment from workers or employees come because firms become so big that normally they used to see their managers, but now because of how big the business is, they don't see the managers anymore. So they feel remote, or they feel like they are not part of the organization because nobody sees what they do anymore like they used to see. The third one, weak coordination. It often takes longer for decisions made by managers to reach all parts of the large businesses and different groups of workers. This could make it difficult to coordinate the work and decision of all parts of the business and ensure that they are working towards the same objective. Coordination becomes difficult because it's a big business, and maybe because of different departments available, you might not be able to reach each worker or each department at the right time. But if it is a small business, you can cover up and coordinate them immediately. But with large businesses, with different departments, different units, you might not be able to reach them at any given point in time. And that is, it makes things to become bigger. It becomes a problem. Coordination. You are unable to put them in the right spots to get the objective of the company done at the right time.
It's like location.
No, not really location here. But what we're trying to say is that there's economies of scale because you cannot arrange workers. You cannot arrange your company. You cannot coordinate them
Yes.
to reach, to let them understand the objective of the business.
Yes, I get it.